All right, Jim and Jim, I think we are ready. So I'd like to welcome everyone. My name is Danielle Suarez, and I am happy to begin this presentation and introduce you to our Unwired and Connected webinar series. This is where we're going to bring together expertise and education, provide insight about our technology, and answer your questions. So during this next hour together, we're going to navigate key concepts and practical applications in health optimization, empowering you with insight and actionable strategies from two of our experts who I feel really grateful to have here today. But before I introduce them, I would like to cover a few housekeeping topics. So today's webinar is being recorded. We will make this recording available to you, but I really want to thank you to those attending live as this creates an interactive experience. So feel free to enter your thoughts and reflections into that chat box. We'd also invite you to comments and questions. So if you look at that Q&A chat box on your Zoom screen, if you think of a question for the speakers at any point, you can actually just type your question in there and we will pose it to the speakers. So the chat is for conversations and interaction. The Q&A box is for posing questions to our speakers. And then finally, stay tuned till the end, where we're going to announce how you can experience our technology for free. Okay, so once again, I am Danielle Suarez. I am the brand and marketing manager at BioCharger, and I will be acting as the webinar facilitator today, mostly behind the scenes. You won't see much of me, but I'll be supporting our two spotlighted hosts, Jim Law and Jim Girard. It's my pleasure to introduce Jim Law, who has served as the managing member of Advanced Biotechnology since co-founding the firm in 2013. With a focus on strategy and business development, Jim's entrepreneurial track record includes founding and co-founding two prior startups that have implemented innovative and disruptive technology-based solutions that have changed the way their respective industries did business. We're also incredibly lucky to have Jim Girard, the BioCharger inventor and head of research and development, here with us today. Jim, also affectionately known as JG, brings over 25 years of experience in subtle energy research, culminating in the original BioCharger concept in 1993. He studied under Dr. Orville Fitz, who was a protege of Nikola Tesla, leading to his experimentation with the Tesla coil and multiple wave oscillation technologies. We are incredibly grateful to have you both here today. So I think I'd like to begin our presentation by handing it off to you, Jim Law. Go for it.
Thanks, Danielle, and a big welcome to our live audience. So over the next 4 hours, we're going to, over the next 30 minutes, we're excited to share some insights that can positively help you achieve optimal health and wellness. And since it looks like about 25% of the registered attendees are in the wellness business, an industry that's projected to hit $7 trillion by 2025, you can use this knowledge to transform your clients' outcomes. So in our modern world, it's like we're all warriors in an unseen battle for our health. The reality is every day we're up against a slew of challenges that our ancestors never even dreamed of. Whether we realize it or not, we have more toxins in our environment than ever before. Some are visible, some aren't. Computers, cell phones, microwaves, Wi-Fi, and power lines surround us everywhere we go. And worst of all, most of us are burning the candle at both ends, spending long hours in front of our phones and computers and piling on all the stresses of life. Hold on to your hats when you see this next stat. Based on a recent EPA report, we spend 93% of our time indoors. That's an average of 22 and a half hours a day inside, where we're blocked from nature's vital energies while simultaneously exposed to non-healthy man-made energies. It's a prescription for poor health. Kids only spend 7 minutes a day in unstructured outdoor play. This is a significant decrease from the 90 minutes a day for the kids that played outside in the 70s. If you're like me, I was outside all the time until dinner or dark, a far cry from 7 minutes a day. So is there a correlation between time spent in nature and our overall health? You decide. 5 years ago, and you can fact check me, 5 years ago, the CDC reported that 4 in 10 American adults had at least one chronic disease. Since then, it's risen by 50% to 6 in 10 or 198 million American adults with a chronic illness. And as if those stats aren't startling enough, now 40% of American adults have 2 or more chronic diseases. That's 132 million people. Another alarming statistic reveals that now 7 in 10 deaths in the US are attributed to chronic disease. Our mental health has deteriorated even faster. For example, reported anxiety levels have risen 300% in just 4 years. Health span is our time living in full vitality without chronic illnesses, whereas lifespan is just a total tally of our living years. The stark reality, on average, American workers enjoy a mere 2 years of true health beyond retirement. I love what Tony Robbins, one of our favorite clients and my personal mentor, says. We all have 1,000 problems until we lose our health, and we have one. Let's see how to narrow the gap between when we stop living an active life and when we have our last breath. Okay, have we pelted you with enough gloom and doom statistics to get your attention yet? Don't these stats boggle the mind? Especially since there's more awareness, focus, and investment towards our health and wellness than ever before. Now let's find the journey to turn those figures into your success story. So a question for you. How many new cells do our bodies generate every second? Answer, 3 to 4 million. On average, our bodies generate over 330 billion cells per day, which represents about 1% of our total cells. Unfortunately, they're not all perfect, healthy cells, which prevents our body from doing what it's designed to do, which is to heal itself. As many of you know, it's all about achieving optimal cellular health. Healthy cells, healthy body. Unlocking the secret to universally healthier cells isn't just a dream, it's a reality. Let's reveal how to make every new cell thrive. Medical experts and researchers worldwide studied over 80 chronic diseases and discovered one common characteristic among them all. 3 words sum it up: inadequate cellular voltage. In other words, an energy shortage at the cellular level. It turns out that the 2 primary functions of healthy human cells, uptake of nutrients and elimination of toxicity, are diminished without proper voltage at the cellular level. Did you know that cellular voltage can be measured and needs to sustain certain thresholds for proper cellular function and regeneration? Although the research varies, the premise is the same. The higher the cellular voltage, the healthier the cell. The importance of proper cellular voltage is detailed extensively in Dr. Jerry Tennant's book, Healing is Voltage. I'd recommend you check it out. So here's the question. Why do most of us lack the cellular energy our bodies need to regenerate vital, healthy new cells? We believe there are 2 major reasons. When we're inside 4 walls, we're blocking out natural energies that are vital to our health and wellness, as food and water is. Instead, we're surrounded by electronics, cell phones, Wi-Fi, etc., none of which provide health benefits, to say the least. These factors make it nearly impossible for our bodies to maintain balance and good health. So for those of you in the audience that might be microdosing, we thought we would throw in a little more colorful graphic here, but it's a great metaphor. Imagine our body as a garden. Soil's water is our body's electricity, essential for everything to function. Flowers represent our well-functioning organs, like the heart and lungs, thriving with electricity's help. Underground roots are like our cells' messages, connecting everything. Just as a garden needs water, flowers, and roots, our body requires electricity, healthy organs, and cell communication for well-being. Many sources report that when asked how it felt to be the smartest man in the world, Albert Einstein said, "I don't know, you'll have to ask Nikola Tesla." Tesla, not Elon Musk, wrote, "If you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration." I'd like to invite Jim Girard, aka JG, the inventor of the BioCharger, one of my business partners and a good friend, to take you into the science behind the BioCharger. But first, a little more about JG. I could tell you that Jim graduated from Akron, Ohio, high school from Akron, Ohio at 11 years old, and that he attended Princeton and graduated top of his class at the age of 16. I could also mention Jim was teaching applied physics at MIT at the age of 18, but none of that would be true. What Jim does have is a tireless passion for helping humanity by bringing energy back into our lives. He's dedicated 35 years of his life. That's a fast 10-year advance since when Danielle mentioned 25 years, but he spent 35 years helping us return to nature, even if it's just long enough to get the essentials. Jim's going to walk us through what each of these vital energies are and how they help optimize ourselves in their own unique way. Jim?
Thanks for that introduction. So what are those 4 vital energies found in nature? First is the, sorry. Who's hitting the button there? Okay. First is the pulsed electromagnetic fields. So that's that magnetic field from the Earth. So if you imagine, may not feel like it, but the Earth is literally traveling at 1,000 miles an hour, rotating. And within that, we're generating these magnetic fields, which are very, very vital for our life. Outside of that, we also have lightning. Most people may not realize this, but there are 8 million lightning strikes on the planet every single day. That's almost 100 every single second. And it's maintaining this electric field that's in the atmosphere. So you may remember Ben Franklin's famous experiment when he threw the kite in the sky. It wasn't that he was attracting lightning during thunderstorms, but even during a clear day, he was able to measure a difference of potential of almost 1 million volts. So those 100 lightning strikes every second are maintaining this electric field in the atmosphere that's vital for us. And when we're hiding out indoors and we have metal roofs above us, it's literally shielding us from that natural energy. Thirdly, what is this thing now? Thirdly, there are frequencies and harmonics. So that's actually coming from the lightning itself. So every single lightning strikes generates unique sets of hundreds of thousands of radio frequencies and harmonics, literally like hundreds of thousands of little radio transmitters. And when you look at that, every second, that's like over 10 million different frequencies and harmonics generated to cover the entire spectrum of up to visible light. Not sure what's going on here. Okay. Fourthly, we have photomodulation. So that's that visible light component. So it's just not that sunlight, but it's that visible light, that blue light in the sky. So what really causes all that blue in the sky? It's all those gases in the atmosphere that get excited to fluorescent that releases thousands of different wavelengths in the infrared, far infrared, near infrared spectrum. So as you can see in this macrocosm, that we are exposed to these different types of energies. So how does that affect on a cellular level? As Jim was mentioning earlier, we have this voltage that we're missing in our bodies. So what is actually that voltage? It's actually the resting membrane potential. So if you can imagine, if you stick a needle into the nucleus of the cell, and then on the outside of the cell, you can actually measure a difference of potential. And in a healthy cell, it's anywhere from minus 70 millivolts up to minus 90 millivolts. Now, what does that minus mean? It means that there's more negative charge in the nucleus of the cell versus on the outside of the cell. And what happens as we age, that voltage potential changes. It actually starts to drop. And when that happens, it has a direct effect on our health. So we have these, if you, in this picture where here we have positive and negative, this is the description of a cell membrane, adding to with the ion channels. So those little round dots represent positive and negative charges. And in the middle is that cell membrane itself. Now, when that charge is sufficient enough, what will actually happen is the cell will actually gate and will create ion channels. And when that happens, ions start to move into the cell, and it's also bringing along vital nutrients, hormones, proteins, as well as the ions themselves. It could be the sodium potassium pump, which is our ATP, which is our mitochondrial function. Now, as I mentioned earlier, that resting membrane potential drops, and when that happens, it stops those cell membranes from actually gating. So it's important to have these fields in and around the cell membrane to actually trigger these things. Now, when you look at this, how does like electric field actually affect this? So the electric field actually makes the cell membrane more permeable. So it actually triggers those ion channels so they can actually move things in and out. Conversely, with magnetic fields, they actually work with those little bubbles, the ion channels surrounding those. And in the presence of a magnetic field, it actually creates a charge potential to help trigger that healthy cellular function. So they both sort of do the same thing, but in different formats. One is magnetic fields are affecting the magnetic or the ion channel, they're affecting the ions, whereas the electric field is actually affecting the cell membrane itself. Thirdly, we have those radio frequencies and harmonics. So as I mentioned earlier, we have like 10 million different radio frequencies. They're actually like little radio transmitters. So they actually behave just like a radio. So in this example is a demonstration of what a radio actually is. So when I set my car radio station at say 95.1, I'm only picking up one station. And what's actually happened is that antenna at the radio transmission antenna tower is literally vibrating at 95 megahertz. And when I set my radio receiver to it, it actually picks up that signal. Now I could drive really close to that radio transmitter and I get that signal that's even stronger. But if you imagine if I change the radio station, I'll stop picking up that signal, but I could pick up a signal tens of miles away, 20 miles away. So our cells are just like these one-band radio receivers, and the radio frequencies and harmonics generated from the lightning discharges are a bunch of little mini radio transmitters. Now, how does that affect on a cellular level? So if you look at this picture, this is the electromagnetic spectrum from 0 to visible light and even beyond. So lightning actually covers that radio, microwave, infrared, up to visible light. So that's AM, FM, shortwave, longwave, UHF, VHF, microwave, millimeter, all the way up to visible light. And if you notice above it, you'll see that magnetic resonance spectrum as well as the molecular band spectrum. So every single molecule, every single cell vibrates within that spectrum. So if all those radio stations from all those lightning discharges that are occurring, they're literally ringing every one of those cells and molecules within that spectrum. And even into the further than that, you have that photomodulation that also deals with the light portion of it. So the light is actually, here's an example of a few of the different elements that exist on the periodic table. And each element has its own unique wavelengths in the infrared, far infrared, but as well as the visible light spectrum. And they absorb and emit different signals associated with it. So when you look at everything in its totality, when we're outside, we're ringing everything from atoms to cells to molecules. They cover everything. And when we're indoors, we're not having that effect.
Okay. Now there's a tough act to follow. Let me go back here for a second, Jim, if you'll give me control back. There we go. Okay. How'd you like to have to work with this guy every day? Oh my gosh. I mean, he's a wealth of knowledge, and the truth be known, there are very few people on earth that have the level of understanding Jim does when it comes to these natural energies and how they affect living organisms, including humans. The fact is, because of these reasons described earlier, the vast majority of us and our families, friends, coworkers, and clientele need more energy at the cellular level. So what are the secrets to re-energizing our cells for optimal function? What strategies can we employ to supercharge our cellular energy? One solution is to consciously spend more time in nature, a lot more time, mindful of how to connect to those vital energies. Now, if you notice here, those of you that recognize Dave Asprey, he likes to stack natural energies just like biohacking. So here he's stacking pulse electromagnetic fields, the negative ions from crashing waves, and sunshine where the sun doesn't shine. He's always been a little tainted, pun intended. But you know what I'm saying. It's essentially, let's get out in nature and reconnect with nature. Not only do we feel better when we're in nature, but absorbing those energies are fundamental to good health and wellness. However, it's not quite as simple as that. And Jim, if you don't mind jumping in for just a second to explain how there are ebbs and flows in the energy in nature.
Yeah, so with lightning, it's just not the same. I mean, this energy field that we're talking about isn't the exact same all the time. It's constantly varying. And most of us are becoming more aware of that because we're seeing more solar storms. So with these solar flares and solar storms, we're starting to see more activity with aurora borealis and everything else. We've actually been coming out of a very flat time period for over last 20 or 30 years, and now we're getting into more active times. And if you could really look further back in 1859, there was what they called the Carrington event. The Carrington event was this once in 500-year event where the sun had a massive solar storm that caused the entire Earth to light up for 2 days straight. So the aurora borealis they were seeing as low as Hawaii, as well as Panama City, and also around all the ends. And it was reported all around the world. They found that miners in Colorado were able to, they woke up in the middle of the night thinking it was the middle of the day. They were able to read newspapers in the middle of the day or in the middle of the night as if it was the middle of the day. So these ebbs and flows are also very important. So sometimes, even though we're outside, we may not be getting the adequate energy or as much energy as what could be in other days.
Appreciate that, Jim. So what alternatives to spending more time? So first of all, we all should spend more time in nature. I mean, full stop. The more time we spend in nature, the healthier we'll become. But what alternatives to spending more time in nature do you have to provide your body the vital energy it needs to thrive? Well, you know, there's this stuff called biohacking, and whether you call it biohacking, recovery, health optimization, there are technologies that actually replicate and amplify those energies in nature. And if life gets in the way from preventing you, your clientele, or your family adequate time with Mother Nature, several of these health optimization technologies can provide one or even a combination of these essential energies. Here's the great thing. Since each of these energies can be measured, key point, all of these energies can be measured. Let's discuss what to look for when making such an important investment. So the top 5 considerations in choosing the right energy technology becomes, first of all, follow the science. Since there are lots of bright, shiny objects and businesses making miracle claims every day, multiple times a day, businesses making claims on Instagram, TikTok, etc., and throughout the wellness marketplace, just be sure to validate that there's a sound scientific foundation. Always validate the results are there from end users. As a consumer, results are what really matters, as in what's in it for you specifically. And for business owners, they know this. The golden rule is that your clientele have to leave feeling and or looking better than when they came in. Whatever technologies you're investing has to give you that kind of result. And choose the pinnacle of innovation, or the best in breed. Opt for solutions that can not only stand out today, but are designed to evolve with you. And a true test of a company's innovation isn't just the product they sell, and we all know this. It's their commitment to you after the sale. The best companies don't just hand you technology, they ensure you're empowered to use it to its full potential. It's about education, support, and being there when you need the most. Choose a partner, not just a provider. And if you're in the health and wellness business, look, it's simple economics. If the tech you're eyeing checks all the boxes, but doesn't boost your bottom line, then it's just burning cash. Do the math. Factor in every cost, including your operating costs and your personnel costs. And if it doesn't add up to a profit, it's just a fancy decor. By the way, our pets need these energies too. Check out our Instagram and you'll see plenty of evidence of that. They are drawn to good energies, and it just speaks for itself. But so far, we've delved into the health trends and root causes to empower your wellness journey. Our aim is to give you insights for a thriving future. Now let's explore just for a minute how the BioCharger could be your next step towards unlocking your full potential. Then we'll dive into a full Q&A. So if you're not familiar with the BioCharger, or as we like to call it, the ultimate human recharging station, others like to call it the modern day campfire, here's why it might be for you. To start with, it's the only health optimization platform, biohacking, or recovery technology that stacks and provides the 4 vital energies we've discussed simultaneously. Hundreds of studies confirm the efficacy of each of the energies discussed. All are quantifiable. Similarly, the BioCharger is vetted by an independent third party, holds FCC and CE mark certifications for safety and emissions, including precision measurements for each energy it produces. Years ago, I had the opportunity to work for Steve Jobs, whose philosophy was always to start with the end user in mind. Forget about the technology, start with the end user in mind. That's what we did with the BioCharger. It's seamless, delightful, touch-free, and potent. And that's just the beginning. Peek beneath the surface, and you'll find the BioCharger at the heart of wellness innovation. Patents signal the uniqueness and innovation of technologies, distinguishing them from those without intellectual property. The cloud-based design enables continuous expansion of our recipe offering clients worldwide instant access to the latest developments. In the world of wellness, BioCharger truly stands apart. Over 3,000 global installations, a 10-year track record, a 96% satisfaction rate. It's precision built in an ISO certified facility here in the good old US of A with a dedicated success team. Every BioCharger is future-proof, and thanks to our cloud-based architecture, we continue to enhance it. It will do more next week than it did this week. Our dedication to unparalleled quality is unmistakable in the enthusiastic endorsements of our passionate clients, influencers, and advocates. For businesses, it's about simplicity. No extra hands needed, minimal costs, great margins, stickiness, and it's for everyone, all at once. Create, connect, and cultivate with the ultimate wellness platform. The potential is truly limitless. You know, we're honored to have many well-known athletes, peak performers, and public figures that have adopted the BioCharger lifestyle for themselves and their families. But honestly, what gets us up early and keeps us up late is the hundreds, and in some cases, thousands of testimonials we have from our clients that you may never see on our website. There are plenty out there, but that just say how the BioCharger has such a profound impact, positive impact on their lives in so many ways. And in the spirit of innovation and trust, don't just take our word for it. Ask around. Our clients, our partners, they're the true innovators, and they'll tell you what the BioCharger experience means to them. We're in and clients around the world that are world renowned for being best in breed. And we love that association. We've also earned it and have great partnerships as a result. New gadgets, they're going to be here all the time. They catch the eye, but the real magic, that's in the technology that delivers time and time again. We're not just creating cool, we're crafting the timeless, the proven, the things that truly impact health and wellness sustainably. Our success depends on yours. Our client success team is legendary in helping each BioCharger client to optimize it for their specific needs, individual, business, or both. In fact, we guarantee it with our certainty of success 45-day money-back guarantee. We're proud to boast in a return rate of less than 1% out of thousands of installations worldwide. And just to give you a sense of what the investment is for a BioCharger bundle, considering that you'd be paying between $100 and $250K to have other modalities that do what the BioCharger does in one platform, it's roughly $350 a month. We have different packages, and if you're in a business, we have everything you need. It's like a turnkey business in a box. And we didn't want to dig into this. We just wanted to share some of this information with you. We certainly are happy to answer questions and follow up, but also, you know, we saw a couple questions coming in. So we thought we'd at least give you a glimpse at the pricing. These are amazing packages, and there's nothing else you need to get the optimal benefits from the BioCharger. So if you'd like to get more information, please just scan this QR code. Now we're going to go into Q&A, but if I'll hold this up for a couple of seconds and let you scan it, and it will just steer you to more information that you can look at in your leisure, share with others about the BioCharger. Now let's turn it back to Danielle for Q&A. One thing I will, there are a couple of questions that have popped up here already. One that I'll just touch on was how much is it? And as you can see, we saw the package pricing for the system. One thing I will say is that if you happen to have a business, our financing partner allows for an incredible opportunity to have no down payment or payments for 90 days. 1 to 5 years terms. And what that allows you to do is essentially get the BioCharger, familiarize yourself with it, get your team to understand and learn how to explain it to others with our online learning management system and certification system. And then in the 3rd month, introduce it to your members or the community. And with all the other accessories and including social media and hosting you on our website so that people can find you to come in and utilize the BioCharger in your business, it's all there for you. Jim, one of the questions that came in is, how does this compare to PEMF and red light therapy? Would you mind taking that one on?
Sure. Well, PEMF is just one component of what the BioCharger is producing. So as compared to PEMF to PEMF systems, we're more in the category of the high energy side of them, similar to, as an example, pulse systems. But the unique advantage that the BioCharger has as a PEMF system is we're able to pulse it up to 50,000 hertz, where most of those may get up to 100 hertz if that's it, but we're also able to program many different sequences at the same time, where many of those systems, you actually have to do an adjustment to actually set the frequencies. We can actually do series of them. Furthermore, with our pulse magnetic field, or the PEMF side of it, the magnetic side, we could further refine that with the duty cycle as far as how we pulse it off and on. So you have many more variabilities, and that part of it is very programmable. And with red light, typically with red light systems, you're getting a couple different wavelengths. If it's far infrared, near infrared, they're typically talking 2 or 3 different wavelengths. The BioCharger uniquely generates over 1,000 different wavelengths in the infrared, far infrared, near infrared, visible light spectrum. So we're actually a much fuller spectrum of frequencies than just simply a 1 or 2 wavelengths. Not to say that those 1 or 2 wavelengths aren't bad. It's better that you have that full spectrum. So when I was alluded to earlier, that chart from 0 to visible light, most of those molecules are vibrating within that spectrum of infrared, far infrared, near infrared. And if you're only hitting a couple wavelengths, you're only going to hit a couple molecules.
Cool. Thank you. Two other questions that we have here, and then I'll turn it over to Danielle. One is, what is a recipe? And that's a fair question. We kind of skim by that sometimes, but a recipe is an energy and frequency program that's designed for a specific outcome. So whether it's a health challenge or a health objective, some type of a spiritual calling, we have these frequency and energy programs that are created based on science, based on calculations that can tell you specifically what frequencies are associated with any living organism, including virus, disease, human healthy cells, unhealthy cells, pathogens, everything living vibrates. And the kind of the special sauce of the BioCharger is that, one, everyone benefits from it because of the way that we're able to project those four energies simultaneously so that your bodies really can receive the energy at the cellular level and boost optimal function. But the magic beyond that is our ability to target very specific outcomes. So if it's a workout or an injury or a migraine or mental clarity, sleep, energy, that and a roughly 1,400 other combinations are recipes that we currently have in the recipe library. And just to put it in context, when Tony Robbins got his first system, it was in 2018. So 6 years ago, we had about 84 recipes. Today we have over 1,400, and Tony and all the clients around the world have access to that complete library. And we've even built in search capabilities so that you can name, it's hard to think of a condition or any type of health objective that you might have that we don't have a recipe for. We even have one for abundance, which our sales team runs every month, and at the last week of the month, you'd be surprised the results. But anyway, recipes are an essential part of the BioCharger and allow us to not only give everyone the benefit of the energy your body needs to help itself, to heal itself, but also the ability to target specific outcomes. And that's magical, and that's part of what you're trained by our health optimization team during your onboarding. The last other session was, how many sessions does it take to see results? Well, that's kind of like asking how long is a rope. First of all, most people feel something in the very first BioCharger session. That's what's magical about it, is that it's not like you're hoping that something happens even though you couldn't feel it. You'll feel something. And a lot of times it's a tingling sensation where there may be inflammation or an injury, and that's just, we watch people kind of recognize that within the first few minutes of biocharging. But depending on what you're trying to achieve, it could be anywhere from one session to, potentially 3 to 4 sessions a week for a couple weeks. And usually in that environment, if you're trying to overcome a health challenge, you'll notice progress within week 1. But you'll notice beyond the shadow of a doubt, no coincidence or anything, by the end of the second week where you're at. And for those of us that are fortunate enough to have a BioCharger and have access to it full time, many of us, myself included, biocharge 2 to 3 sessions a day. The average session's 12 to 15 minutes, but I use it at different parts of the day for different desired outcomes. So there's really no limit to how it can apply and be used, but those are kind of the simple responses to those questions. Danielle, any other questions?
Yeah, Jim, thanks. You're doing a really good job. We have a lot of questions coming in through the chat and the Q&A box. And so you kind of touched on this already, but we did have a question come in about the optimal amount of time that someone should sit with the BioCharger to get the best results. I mean, how do you how do you know what recipe to choose and how long do you sit for? So where would they get that guidance from?
That's part of the onboarding and the training and the advanced consultation that is our client success team, which is included with every investment in a BioCharger. But kind of in general, if you look at a 12 to 15-minute session, you're going to your body's gonna know what to do with it. And when you first get your BioCharger, one of the things that our health optimization team will say is walk before you run. And the reason is that many of you know this, but when you get energy in your body, the first thing it wants to do is clean house. And when I say that, it means detoxify. And whether you realize it or not, many of us have a lot of toxicity in our body. So if we overuse the BioCharger when we first receive it, you could cause kind of what they call a healing crisis or a Herxheimer's reaction. That's not necessary. You don't have to put your body through that. What we say is listen to your body. Day one, do one session. See how you feel the next day and either do it then or skip a day. But within about a week to 10 days, you'll have noticed that your body has a lot less toxicity. You'll feel it, you'll see it, you'll witness it. But then, as I mentioned, kind of the point of diminishing returns is probably longer than, 45 minutes a day. And that's kind of my average. Although we do have clients that use it, for hours a day, but we recommend, 2 to 3 sessions.
Great. Thanks, Jim. And JG, I invite you to answer any questions you see that come through the chat. But one common one that's coming through, you mentioned stacking. And so we have a couple questions about using the BioCharger with red light in the same session or a PEMF mat, or, so what does that look like and how can people stack those different tools?
Sure, great question. To be honest with you, it's probably unnecessary to use a PEMF mat, or even, and there's some great ones out there, but the level and intensity of the PEMF that the BioCharger is producing is plenty for your body to use without having to augment it with a mat. Kind of the same thing with light, as Jim was mentioning. I like red light. I mean, red light, cold laser, red light, infrared, far infrared. Those are all healing frequencies within the visible light spectrum. And as Jim described, we're actually casting a broader range of those frequencies so that which more mimic nature, honestly, but also provide that additional healing ability with those expansion of frequencies. And it's actually because of the number of inert and noble gases that the BioCharger has, which is 6 versus 1 or 2 with any of the other modalities. However, when you mention stacking, you want to get the best results in the BioCharger. If any of you meditate, try meditating in front of the BioCharger, or if you do breath work or Wim Hof breathing, you will go deeper, faster. You will hit that euphoric state so much faster. Doing yoga, we have people that that will just listen to music and just be. Put your damn phone down. A lot of our clients make you leave the phone outside the room. And so allow yourself the time to focus on yourself. And if you can combine other positive techniques that you use that help get you into that state, then you can certainly add those. Now we have clients that have IV therapy, and what they tell us is that they love to combine IV drips with the BioCharger simultaneously, because it actually helps the absorption. And if you understand what Jim mentioned earlier, you can see why. But it actually reduces the time it takes for the drip to finish. So from a business standpoint, that's faster throughput, and from a client or member standpoint, they spend less time getting the benefit and maximizing it, because now with the energy the BioCharger produces, your cells are getting that nutrients rather than them coming out the other end. So sorry to give you a long answer there.
No, but it sounds like you can effectively stack with personal use and also business use with different
Absolutely.
service offerings.
Absolutely.
Yeah, sounds good. And I think JG went kind of to the science behind this device. It contains so many different modalities. It might feel complicated from the outside, a bit intimidating for a first-time user. So like, how much training is needed to effectively operate a biocharger? How do you learn how to use this thing?
That's were you looking for Jim on that or myself?
Either, yeah, wherever you guys are comfortable. Yeah.
All right. Sure, I'll be a ball hog here. And I was also just reading one of the other ones. This is where one of the voids that we see in the entire biohacking, recovery, health optimization technologies category. It's a very underserved market, whether you're a business or an individual. Once you've made that investment, it's really hard to get answers and the instruction and coaching that you need to get the most out of it, to optimize it. And so that's why we've designed, and we have 20 people dedicated. These are not offshore call centers. These are dedicated employees of Advanced Biotechnologies whose entire mission in life is to help each and every client optimize that biocharger experience for their own personal use. So if it's a health challenge or objective or a combination for you and your family, or for your business, we're going to walk you through and give you the necessary tools and training and support so that you're always able to maximize the benefit of it. And when I look at somebody, Susan, sounds like you were just at UPW. That was the largest UPW virtual event that Tony Robbins has ever done. It was over 30,000 people. We were honored to be presented on the virtual homepage and promoted on Health Day, because not only does Tony and hundreds of the people in the Robbins Research Organization use biochargers regularly, but we've literally got hundreds, if not thousands, of customers that are all Tony followers. If you're looking for more information, and I know, sorry, we got a little technical on you here on this call. I would just say, to reach out to us at sales or marketing at biocharger.com, or Jim or myself, Jim Girard, Jim.Girard at biocharger.com, or myself or anyone on our team. And we'd be happy to take you through. And we've got a lot of great information, testimonials, videos, etc. So we'll match you up with exactly what you want to learn more about it. And we appreciate you asking.
Awesome. Thanks, Jim. We do have a couple like science-based questions, so I am going to put the ball in JG's court for a little bit. There was a question coming in about the variability of the PEMF output. So maybe just speak more to how the PEMF output and how the recipes are controlling this output, and is the user able to modify the output, or is that controlled by the recipe?
That's a great question. So yes, the recipe is pretty much controlling the output. There isn't the user interface other than just hitting a button to turn it on. Now you do have some interaction on how you choose your recipes, and that's one of the neat things about our MyCloud is you can actually has a Google type of search. So if you have a particular outcome in mind that you want to use or target, then you could select those recipes that way, where you have some of your input with it. How does it compare to other systems that are out there? I mean, it really depends on the type of system. There are more of the mat types, like the Bemer system. Now the Bemer just runs like one type of program or recipe that they do, or maybe a couple. There's some of the other ones that may give you some selection on how you create the PEMF, like the IRMS 2000, but those are very weak systems. They usually use like a Helmholtz coil, which is a little bit different than more of the systems like the BioCharger or similar to like the pulse systems, where it's a very strong magnetic field for a very, very short period of time. So it's more of a And that's really what we're controlling. And that's really where I think that where we really excel from the PEMF side is we're able to really control the output of it, the frequency ranges that we do. And then it's just set it and forget it. You hit a button and you run it. So as a user, most people don't want to have that complication of how do I operate it? How do I select things? They just want to be able to hit the button and go. And that's part of the way we designed the BioChargers to really have that user friendliness in mind with it.
Mhm. Yeah, and kind of on that same line of output, many people notice when they want to do 2 or 3 recipes in a row, there is this cool down period. Can you speak to that and why it's necessary?
Well, we added that the cool down part is just like in any electronics, heating is an enemy of the system. So after a recipe, we like to have that cool down just to allow for the electronics internally to cool down to help extend that life cycle of the system. We want to make sure that the biocharger is reliable as well as powerful. That's the way in which we work around that.
Mhm. Exactly. And do you want to go into just quickly touch on recipe development? I mean, how are you choosing these programs and how they're applied to a specific goal?
Sure, that's a great question. So, as I alluded to a little bit in the talk, there's every cell, every molecule vibrates at a specific frequency. It absorbs and emits a specific frequency unique to itself. And there's been a lot of research in this field, specifically in the MRI area, the magnetic resonance imaging. It's based off of that principle called magnetic resonance. And the principle behind magnetic resonance is every cell, every molecule absorbs and emits a specific frequency unique to itself. And it can actually be identified based off of that wave function. So when you're actually in an MRI, they put you in a magnetic field to create it very uniform, and then they bounce radio waves, and how they absorb and emit those signals, they create the imaging off of it. We're not dealing with so much of how it re-emits the signal, but how it absorbs it. So by seeing all that research, and there's so much research that's out there within this field, as well as other people that are researching there. We also get recipe from other practitioners. So there are other devices that are out there. They have their certain experiences where they would like to have certain recipes or frequencies that we want to work with. We also deal with brainwave activity. So there's certain frequency ranges that you deal with the brain. So when you really think about it, it's just not on a cellular level that we're working on, but with our bodies, there's this, in our brain especially, there's another electrical component, and that's all driven by electrical impulses. So by understanding how things are vibrating, that's how we end up creating the recipes. Also, we draw in other areas with our recipes. There's research into sound therapies and things like that. Certain tones have a different effect with it. I spent a lot of time on Scholar Google, so there are thousands and thousands of research papers, especially lately, that just popping up, investigating all these different pulse frequencies and the effects specifically on them. So there's many different areas that we draw from within our recipes. And finally, there's I was a mathematician in college, and I see a lot of patterns and things like that, and Fibonacci frequencies, or the Fibonacci sequence. So we create recipes sometimes based off of the mathematical relationship between the harmonics and things that we're actually generating with it. So we draw from a whole host of different areas to actually create the recipes. So, and that's partly what helped to build out that over 1,400 recipes that we have available.
Yeah, it's incredible stuff. And that you mentioned there's some other devices out there. And so I think we had a question come in about EES. There's another device. I'm just curious your thoughts of how the BioCharger compares to that.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, that was really a nice flash in the pan technology. It just has really come out recently. And they talk about the scalar type of things, and you really can't measure it, but it does something. And for that system, I think you really have to have a lot of faith in it. But I like to live in more of the real world. And what's really nice about the biocharger, and the biggest difference is we have a measurable magnetic field. We have a measurable electric field. We have a measurable radio frequencies and harmonics. We have a measurable light component. And all those things are backed with thousands and thousands of different research articles that support the benefits of those. And we also see that in nature. Whereas with that system, you see it's flashing lights. You may feel like it's doing something to it, but at the end of the day, I really feel like you almost have to have a little bit of faith with that one.
If I could just touch on that a little bit, first off, we look at all the different technologies, and you'd be hard pressed to find a technology that we haven't personally used or tested. And both Jim and I spent a fair amount of time when the EES first came on the scene. They've been around for a long time. We've never seen any patents or intellectual property. And quite frankly, from a business owner, I'm a little bit concerned about some of the claims that are made with that, because as we all know, if we get into the medical device arena, that is the road to hell. And we're not a medical device. We don't pretend to be. We don't cure anything. We don't make medical recommendations. We simply provide your body with the energy that it needs to do what it's designed. It's the ultimate healing machine. Our body is. And so the energy's there. And Jim made a key point. The scalar energy, to our knowledge, cannot be measured. And what can be measured are things like EMF. And we've looked at some of the claims and some of the technology, design points, and it's very difficult for us to get anything measurable that would show that there's a reduction or blockage of EES. Now, a lot of us are, and I'm someone who doesn't understand quantum, but I believe that there's benefits to quantum healing, quantum energy, quantum physics, all of that. So just because we don't understand it doesn't mean it doesn't work, but it's really hard to find tangible distinction. And like I think I mentioned in the presentation a little bit earlier, go talk to a half a dozen owners that and ask what their experience has been. And with us, we'll open up our customer list for you. Ask 100 if you like, or pick one out of 1,000 if you like, and ask any of them how they feel about the BioCharger. One of the other things that I did notice, Diane T had requested, had a request around osteopenia, osteoporosis. Now, some of you, and her question was, that apparently doctors will tell you that once you've lost the cartilage in your bones, even in your hips, knees, joints, et cetera, that you can't regrow it. And there's studies. So here's what we can say. OsteoStrong, who is one of our clients that started with a single location and now have, they'll by end of year, about 180 locations open, primarily nationally, but now internationally as well. We're in 90+% of those locations and continuing to grow our presence there. And the three reasons that they have standardized on the BioCharger is, number one, that it enhances the effects of the other technologies being used at OsteoStrong. Now, if you read a book called, Jim could tell you all about it, but The Body Electric, they talk about how energy, and it can be measured, increases wherever there's a bone break or joint damage, et cetera. If you look at some of the some of the new, not that new technologies, but look at PRP, plasma-rich platelets. They're finding that they can actually, and there's some studies that show that they can actually regrow cartilage. And stem cells is certainly kind of the, we're on the frontier of that, and there's definitely an impact. So what I will say is the second thing that the BioCharger brings to OsteoStrong and all its clients is the energetic component. It allows them to have a single platform that's providing us all the energies that we need, that we've already proven are vital to our health and wellness and nature. And number three is the social connection that's made by the ability to have 4 to 6 people sharing a BioCharger session, enjoying the modern day campfire while having a conversation, and they tie that back to the business. So, and it's the same thing with families. It used to be the sit around the breakfast table in the morning. Now everybody's got their phone. Nobody does that anymore, unfortunately. And I have lots of families that will say, this is the one thing that brings us together. We all biocharge together. Our kids do homework in front of the biocharger. We've noticed all these improvements. We get along better. You sleep better. You know, those have transcended a lot of the other benefits of some of the other technologies out there. We're very proud of it, and it's unique.
Thanks so much, Jim, and thank you, JG. We are up on our time today. We appreciate you joining our virtual campfire, talking more about the BioCharger. Just want to thank you again for your time. Grateful you were on our first webinar of the Unwired and Connected webinar series. We're going to have more of these, but take care to you all, and best wishes on your personal health journeys. So take care, and we'll see you again soon.
Take care. Thank you.
Thank you.